Okay. Welcome everybody to Rugby Park. As you'll see, we're with a Kilmarnock legend today who has a record number of appearances, Alan Robertson. Alan, if I could start and take you back to your playing career. Looking back at your lengthy playing career, what were your own highlights?
I think I was fortunate enough to gain promotion on a few occasions, so they were obviously particularly when we won, I think it was 2-1 against Stirling Albion at Rugby Park on the last day of the season to clinch promotion, and then when we beat Queen of the South 6-0 at the last game to just pip Hearts, although the manager won't appreciate me saying that, for promotion that year. So I think those were the big things, and obviously we had some decent cup results as well, winning a replay against Celtic out there. We always seemed to, we did well against teams in the cup and brought them back to Rugby Park for replays, but because it was such a good surface, I'm not sure whether that was a great advantage, but that night we managed to turn it up, turn it to our own benefit, so that was another highlight as well. Looking back, I suppose you were caught up in what could have been described as the yo-yo years. Yeah, I got into the team when the club went part-time effectively, so we had, when it was in the old Premier League days, we were one of the few part-time teams. I think ourselves and Partick were the sort of two who went between the top league and the first division. We were the part-time teams, and it was difficult to compete consistently with the full-time teams at that stage. And that's obviously understandable. What were any low points, or were the low points always coming back down out the Premier? Low points, obviously, just losing, getting relegated is obviously not a nice thing, regardless of which division it's from. So that was a low point, and I think the other one was probably when we lost to Dumbarton in the quarter-finals of the Scottish Cup, because we had done quite well beforehand, and we felt that if we could win that game, and we should have really, given that they were in the same division and below us at that stage, we felt we should have beaten Dumbarton, and I think we had a chance with any of the semi-finalists that year, so that was another low point really. Okay, looking back through your career, and sadly we're doing this interview just after the club has lost Andy King, who were the real characters that you played with? Well, Derek McDicken was obviously a big personality about the club, in terms of in the team that I played for, but at that stage we had a lot of players who played a lot of games, you know, and so they were here for a number of years, so really I sort of became good friends with the likes of Derek McDicken, Stuart McLean, Paul Clark, were all people who gave sort of sterling service to the club, and who were personalities in their own right. Right, yeah. But different types of personalities from the McCoys and Durant from that point of view. Yeah, well, I think everybody's a different personality from them, but no, I mean, McCoys and Durant were obviously huge personalities when they were here, and certainly gave the club a great boost in the brief period where, as players, and obviously Ian had a longer spell when he was coaching at the club as well, and they did a lot for the profile of the club, and also for the general atmosphere about the place. Okay, looking back to Andy King thing, did you actually play with Andy King? Did your careers overlap at all? No, I don't think so. I think I was just after Andy. I mean, I've met him, or I've met him on a number of occasions since, obviously, and really it's a very sad day that he's passed away, because he was one of the good guys, right enough. Yeah, because obviously you had the record number of appearances, but he had the record number of appearances in Europe, and I doubt whether that will ever be surpassed. Yeah, well, that's right. He played at the time when obviously the club was probably at its peak, given that he was able to make so many European appearances, and also played in a cup in the league winning side. Yeah. So he certainly had a great career at the time when the club was at its peak. Yeah, obviously. Looking back as well, who do you reckon was the most influential manager that you played under? Doesn't necessarily mean the best. No. Well, probably in my own career, probably Jim Clooney actually, and probably people find that quite a strange comment to make, but although Willie Fernie sort of gave me my opportunity at first to play first team football. Sorry, he didn't, it was Walter McRae, but but Jim Clooney was probably the most into tactical awareness and things that he did there that I felt helped to develop my game, although I didn't play as often under him as I did under other managers. I did feel that Jim Clooney had quite a big influence in terms of how I played.
It's an interesting answer, because from the fans' perspective he was probably one of the less popular managers.
Yeah, well that's right, he was, and possibly his personality had something to do with that, yeah. And he appeared very gruff and dour, but from a sort of being organised in terms of when you went out to play, I felt that he had a big influence in terms of where I was. Was
there any manager that you felt was disappointing, or that was perhaps a weaker manager?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think you take something from every manager, and obviously a number of the managers were played with. Eddie was a manager who had played with and things, so and Davy Snedden with the record that he had at the club, Walter McRae who had done a lot of things in terms of the training side at the top, so there were people that you had respect for.
Okay. You've been well known as being part of the structure that has produced a number of young players, and who was the first youngster that you were involved with who really succeeded?
Probably, I mean, when I came in at first, it was people like Mark Robertson, Charlie Adams were in the under 18 team as it was at that stage, that Jim Clark had sort of put together. So the likes of them were certainly the ones. Probably the one who perhaps did the most was Peter Canero, because he obviously moves from the club to go down south and go to Leicester and played a couple of games for Scotland. So Peter Canero was probably the first one that moved in that sense.
The chairman, or the chairman in waiting, has stated that he wants some sort of structure put in place where it goes right through from the youngsters to the first team, and each person's got a defined role and each person can then move up. Is that something you're keen to embrace, or have you already started embracing that?
Well, I think to some extent that's already been started. I mean, I think throughout the club, from like the very youngest age groups right through to the first team, you're looking for people who are comfortable in the ball, who can take the ball in tight situations, can pass the ball well, pass it purposefully, and also be very positive and play from that point of view. So, I mean, I think that goes through the whole club really in terms of how we want to play, people having possession of the ball and using it purposefully. As far as having standard systems, then I think as long as you've got players who can do that, then the coaches can deal with the different systems, because the first team won't always play the same system. At times it will be dependent on the opposition and things. So I think the younger teams can experiment with different systems, as long as the players have got the same basic philosophy in terms of, as I say, passing and possession.
So that was certainly something Jim Mann had said to us, was that he was keen to get the ball down and pass it, and not be so much of a long ball team, which was something that had happened, whether it was deliberately but it certainly happened over the last year or so.
Well, I think some of the games looked at that, but when you looked at what the team was doing in training, there was more working on possession and passing than there was in terms of hitting long balls. But sometimes in a game that happens, but obviously when you go back to Mixu's team and Kenny's team to some extent, then the teams pass the ball out from the back and look to play when it's on, and I think that's certainly what we want to do at all levels, all age groups.
That's certainly meritorious, and I think something the fans would like. Some fans, perhaps find it a bit stressful playing out for the back, and some folk are heard to shout, "Get rid of it!" And but the possession's the ultimate. If you've got the ball, you can do something with it.
Well, if you've got the ball, you can do something with. I think scoring's obviously the ultimate, but you know, I think you have to recognise when there are occasions when, for whatever reason, because of the calibre of the opposition's closing down, etc., that you can't play the way that you would like to, and you have to have a plan B or a plan C that you can go to that will get you out of that situation. Although you've got your underlying philosophy that yes, you want to play it for the back and you want to play attractive football. I mean, even when you look at the likes of Manchester United the other week, where they're getting criticised for going to a long ball game when it wasn't working for them otherwise, but it's having an alternative if the way that you want to play isn't actually working on a particular day.
Okay. Obviously we've seen significant and dramatic changes in the past month. Can I ask you, what is your actual role now?
Well, I mean, basically I'm the development coach at the moment. Because of the interim situation, I'm helping the gaffer with the first team, and I'm still in charge of the development team, but at the moment my role is to sort of provide support to the gaffer at the moment until hopefully he gets a job, and then you know, he'll look at his own situation then, and hopefully there's still an opportunity for me.
So are you actually actively involved in selecting the team and discussing tactics, etc., or is that mainly Gary's prerogative?
That's obviously the gaffer's prerogative, in that I provide an alternative viewpoint or another viewpoint, as do the rest of the backroom staff. But at the end of the day, you know, the decision's obviously his, and we provide him with support around that. Okay,
you mentioned the development team there. Can I ask your general strategy, whether you would have a system and pick the players to fit the system, or would you design your system round your players?
I think you have to design your system around your players. You know, trying to put square pegs in round holes doesn't work really, and so therefore with the players that you've got, you try to do something that allows them to express themselves properly and in the most advantageous manner for them.
Okay. It's just, I think some managers with a longer term strategy would accept that in the shorter term, but then perhaps try and pick players to pick their system, but that would be given the opportunity of signing players, I suppose.
Yeah, well, I think you're always looking for a balance in your squad between people who are whose principal strength is passing the ball and having possession of the ball, and people whose principal strength is winning the ball back for you. So, I mean, you've got to have a balance throughout your team in terms of different types of players and different characters as well.
Okay, with the young players coming through and, you know, seeing some of them obviously establishing themselves in the team, is there anyone that you think we should particularly look out for, or is there a group? How encouraged are you with them?
It's a bad time to ask the question, considering Tuesday night's result as the development.
I don't want to mention Tuesday night results specifically.
But no, I mean, I think the group of players that are at the development squad at the moment, although it's an under 20 league with overage players, I mean, most of our boys are under 18, so you know, they've got a bit of maturing to do in it, but I think there's a number of good players in them, and you know, some of the David Syme, who's he made his debut on Saturday, coming on in that game, and we've got another couple like Aaron, including Aaron Spillane, who's injured at the moment, who have been round about the first team. So, you know, I think there's a few, and some of the younger boys at the under 18s like Dean Hawkshaw, who I think people who have got the potential to have a good career at this club and elsewhere.
What's your general view on loaning a player out? We've seen that with Rory McKenzie going to Brechin, and we've seen it with Greg Kiltie going to Queen of the South. Do you feel that enhances them because they're getting regular football, albeit at a lower level than the club would be providing in the SPL?
Yeah, I think it can be beneficial for the player in that they're exposed to sort of man's football where results matter. I mean, the development league, yes, we want to win the games, and there is no doubt about that, but at the end of the day its ultimate aim is to develop players for the first team. But going out on loan, playing in a situation where they want to win, whether it's for promotion or whoever, then I think it can aid their development, because they come to a stage where they need to be playing in a first team. But you also have to make sure that it's at the right club, and where people will play. There's no point in boys going out and then not playing on a regular basis if they're out on loan.
Okay, Alan, finally, can I ask you what your hopes are for the remainder of the season?
Well, I think obviously for from first team point of view is for them to continue to develop the run that they're on at the moment, and to hopefully secure a top 6 place from that point of view. And as far as the younger boys, it's for them to continue to develop, so that as many as possible can be offered contracts for next year. That's the ones who are out of contract, to see them develop. But obviously the big thing is for the first team to get the top 6 finish with a good run of results between now and the end of the season.
It must be disappointing for you sometimes, where a youngster you think has got potential either doesn't knuckle down or is not offered a contract, and I suppose there's not much you can do about that.
No, that's right. I mean, it's more than potential. They've got to have the right attitude as well, and show that they really want to succeed and be a football player. But I mean, it's fortunate at the moment the gaffer comes to the under 20 games, or the development league games rather, so it's not as if he's making a decision just based on what boys do in training. He sees them in games, and so I can have discussions with them in terms of if boys are short in a certain area, then that can be highlighted, and they can then work in those areas to give themselves the best possible chance. But there's always going to be differences of opinion as to which players are the best. Yeah,
I suppose it's just finally you see people slipping through the net, like what happened with Craig Slater slipping through the St Mirren net and ending up here.
Well, that's right. I mean, I don't think anybody's infallible, and I know that I'm certainly not, because Craig Sampson constantly reminds me about Craig Conway, who was in our system as a young boy before he went on. But no, sometimes I think boys just, if they move on to another club, then maybe it gives them a kick start or to their attitude or their career or whatever, and they just need the fresh start to improve their game. But it's making sure that you make as few of those mistakes as possible. I mean, it's easy to spot the outstanding players, whether they're outstandingly good or outstandingly bad. It's recognising the ones in the middle category who have got the potential to become exceptional players.
Okay, thanks very much, Alan. Appreciate it.
Thank you.